That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Theater Camp, the directorial debut of Molly Gordon and Nick Lieberman, which premiered at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival, where it won Best Ensemble. It is being released courtesy of Fox Searchlight, or Searchlight Pictures, on July 14th, 2023.
I didn't know it was a directorial debut.
Yeah, Molly Gordon, who also stars as Rebecca-Diane in the film.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. She's
wow.
one of the co-directors. Nick Lieberman is the son of Marilu Henner.
Oh.
I discovered, which is interesting. It was also co-written by them and Noah Galvin, who stars as Glenn in the film, who is the catch-all stagehand who has I think probably one of the better character arcs.
Well, very good job. I thought this movie was quite good.
It's entertaining.
I laughed a lot. Mm-hmm. The story, the eccentric staff of a rundown theater camp in upstate New York must band together with the beloved founder's broy son to keep the camp afloat. So the theater is run by two ladies, one of whom is played by Amy Sedaris.
Mm-hmm. And the other's Carolyn Aaron.
And within the first 5 minutes, Amy Sedaris' character has a seizure while sitting in a production of Bye Bye Birdie. So she's incapacitated. So her son, Troy, played by
Jimmy Tatro,
he has to step in to oversee the camp. And he's described as a cis-het dude. He is not interested in theater. He's just very bro-y. So he doesn't know what he's doing. He also pretends that he's like a successful businessman, but he's clearly not.
Well, he has like vlogs, right? He's on...
Sure, but he doesn't know what foreclosure means. I mean, he doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. So very quickly we realize the theater is in financial trouble. And Patti Harrison plays a representative for the rival theater camp, which we're told is like...
abutted.
Well, yeah, and is filled with like rich kids. Mm-hmm. And they want to buy the land. So Patti Harrison tricks Troy into selling it to her, but there's a loophole. If he can make the final payment before the property goes into foreclosure, then the sale would be void. So he comes up with the idea that we need to put we need to go ahead with our final big production, which is an original musical called Joan Still, which is like supposed to be like the life and times of Amy Sedaris' character.
Joan, Still.
Yeah.
Joan now, whatever the lyrics started, that's not good.
Yeah. So they do it. Troy's idea is to bring he knows this group of people who are all influencers called the Primo Ballers. He's hoping that they will sort of influence this production and have people donate. But that doesn't happen. What does end up happening is someone else decides to donate money, which we can get into. It saves the theater camp. So that's the main storyline. Secondarily, the two main teachers are played by...
Molly Gordon and Ben Platt.
Ben Platt plays Amos and Molly Gordon plays Rebecca-Diane, which I thought was funny. So they were students at the camp years ago, and then they've spent the last decade being like full-time teachers there. But...
they've kind of taken over the culture of the place.
They're very involved. And they have an interesting relationship because Rebecca-Diane was in love with Amos when they were kids until she found out he was a homosexual. But they have a very codependent relationship. And earlier on in the film, we realized that they both applied to get into Juilliard. And we're told neither one got a callback. But sort of at the climax of the film, when all is revealed, we find out that Rebecca-Diane has been moonlighting, training because she took a job as a cruise ship performer. And so that upsets Amos because he thought like we're always supposed to be together. And then the final blow is she says, actually, I did get a call back to Juilliard, but I didn't go because I wanted to be with you. But clearly that was a waste of my time because I really just want to be a performer. So they kind of have a breakup, but then because the final performance goes well, Amos decides he's going to stay as a teacher because the theater camp will remain open. It's clear Rebecca-Diane's going to go on as a performer, and all's well that ends well. Very funny.
Yep, and I should note that it was based on an earlier short version of the film.
So, I guess I could start with... I feel like this could have been a classic film, but there are some things missing.
It's trying to do a lot, and not all of them are the most well executed. But that said, for what that it lacks there, it's very charming.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is, as much as I like Patti Harrison, I
do
didn't
too.
really need her character because she's kind of just a villain, but not in a fun way. She's just a bitch. And then I think her tricking Troy seemed unnecessary because he's such a buffoon. Like the first time he meets her, he's like, yeah, let's do business together. She didn't need to sleep with him, which she does. So I feel like we didn't need all that.
Or her coming to the realization that she probably didn't have to put herself in that position to get what she wanted.
Right. Then Ben, I didn't mind Ben Platt. I think he did a good job as this, theater camp instructor who's very self-absorbed and too afraid to chase his own dreams, which is why he's trying to tell these kids what to do. That was effective.
Yeah.
But I don't know that his arc was satisfying because it seems like someone in his position, like psychologically, this one incident's not going to change him. So I just don't have a lot of hope that he's going to mature.
No, he's my least favorite part, and it's not because there's anything innately wrong with what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, this character makes complete sense to me, met a lot of people like him. But I don't know that I've personally forgiven Ben Platt for Dear Evan Hansen and having to sit through that. But I think where the film is kind of maybe selling itself short is, I think that somebody like him would have, despite himself, had kind of an attraction to somebody like the Jimmy Tatro character and not be able to reconcile that. And I think there are ways to get into some kind of the darker rhythms underneath having to be in a musical theater camp with all these children that are in a bubble.
I agree. I think it doesn't really take us. It's pretty superficial as far as the humor and the themes go.
It's like it's rising the ladder to being as good as something like a Christopher Guest mockumentary. But
So I think what could have sent it there is, and maybe because I just love Amy Sedaris so much,
Yeah.
and her brother, the fact that she has nothing to do, she opens the film and then immediately is in a coma, and then we don't see her again until the end credits.
It's a bit like what I imagine, a certain type of action film lover felt about Steven Seagal dying in Executive Decision. Like, no, like when she gets the seizure and when you realize that she's gonna be out, like I was disappointed. I don't know.
But that's it. So all of my notes are just everything I found funny. So when Amos and Rebecca-Diane, so the season opens in the summer, all the kids are there, and Troy, who these kids have never met, tries to get up there and talk to them, and they're not even listening to him. So then the costume designer, that actor,
Yes, Gigi, played by Owen Thiele.
I really enjoyed him. He gets all the kids' attention, and he's very inappropriate.
He's cranky with
Not
that.
in a vulgar way. He's just not very professional as a teacher, but I thought he was so funny.
But him and I think all of the other, I think Molly Gordon is good as Rebecca. I don't know, they're the least interesting part. I wanted more of everyone else.
I agree, because then there's the gentleman from AbFab who I really like.
Oh, Nathan Lee Graham.
Who's the dance teacher. He's really funny.
Well, my automatic, yes, AbFab, but also Todd from the Zoolander films.
Sure. I think the star of the movie is Noah Galvin playing Glenn. Mm-hmm. He's sort of this like neurotic. I mean, he's just high strung because he has so much to do. But his character is well done because we see that he has some hidden talents that he's not very assured of, like his singing and dancing. Mm-hmm. But it's at the 11th hour when Troy realizes the show must go on, and he tells Glenn, "This is your time to shine." So Glenn ends up playing Joan in the musical because the star student Darla, this young lady, she ends up booking a gig and has to leave camp early. Mm-hmm. So Glenn steps in, and I thought he looked great. His makeup was great. He sounded great. It was a lot of fun.
It sells it well in a nice package.
So I agreed. Oh, and then another favorite is Ao, who I know
Edebiri
from the movie Bottoms.
Io Edebiri.
I thought she was so funny. She's playing this woman who's basically like a con artist. She wrote a fake resume to get this job. And just her acting the entire movie, she looks like uncomfortable. And
She looks like she has a look on her face. I've seen it where I will run out of this room if I have to, if I'm discovered.
yeah, it's so funny. But getting back to Amos and Rebecca-Diane, in the beginning when they're telling all the students, well, welcome to the season. I know you're all waiting for what we're going to be performing. So they give the list of like the productions they're going to do this season, and they're sort of acting them out. I thought that was really funny. Then we find out that every season they put on an original production. And I wish I would have written them down, but the names of the original productions were really funny.
They're pretty good.
Like Hanukkah Massacre, like just
Hanukkah Divorce.
Hanukkah Divorce, so funny.
Yes, and I think a lot of those details where it's like, oh,
The writing is
pretty good.
Ao's character, so she's teaching a number of disciplines, and one of them is like mask acting, like literally like acting with a mask in front of you. And there's a sequence where she tells the kids, she doesn't use the word Kardashians, but she's basically describing the Kardashians and having the kids act out the Kardashians with masks. I thought that was really funny. Then they have a staff hang, which apparently is like all the staff get together and have a bonfire and take all of the confiscated alcohol, which I thought was really funny because none of these kids look old enough.
Which of these children?
Yeah, which of these kids?
Alcohol?
And there's a lot of alcohol, like brown liquor. Like which one of these like adolescent kids brought brown liquor?
And apparently Clive has a tendency to talk about his heyday in the 80s where he was always naked.
That was really funny. Okay, so Troy trying to figure out how to make money. His first big idea is that he has like this Rotary Club come for like a dinner. And that goes really poorly because the kids, these little theater kids, who I thought all the kids did a phenomenal job.
They did.
But these kids think that the best way to approach it is like an immersive dinner theater.
That's how he actually becomes more savvy than that's how he sells it to them. Like you're playing a role as these waiters.
Yes, that was really good. But of course, it's a disaster because
these children want to shine.
Yeah, and they're talking about crazy stuff while these people are trying to eat their food.
And what's the head of that club, David? I'm gonna say his last name, David Rash. Who's just tearing Jimmy Tatro, another one, saying like, "There's a guy that was he triggered Vietnam flashbacks because these children are going into their own little skits."
That was really good. Then when we're rehearsing for the musical Joan Still. So there's a boy named, what's the straight boy's name? Devin. So there's one boy in the theater camp who's clearly like the outsider.
He has hetero tendencies.
Because he's straight.
He likes football.
And he gets cast as sort of like the lead in Joan Still. And he's rehearsing with another young lady. And then there's a big moment where it's found out that she's using a tear stick, but the teachers are reacting to her like she's using steroids. I thought that was really funny. So then there's like a mixer because, as we mentioned, Patti Harrison's character works for the rival theater camp. They have a mixer where Troy is like DJing. I thought that was really funny. And then they play Little Nas X, which I thought was cool to have like a queer artist and a very, they spent money. I'm assuming he or his people wanted to give this song to this movie.
There are a lot of people behind the scenes, and I think Will Ferrell executive produced this as well. Yeah.
Then getting back to the stage combat during the mixer, the teacher Ao's playing. She has two of the students pretend to get into a fight in front of the rival students. I thought that was really funny, and I think it's interesting that that's very similar to the movie we reviewed with her called Bottoms. Which I don't think is released yet.
No, that'll come out in August.
But her character plays someone who starts a fight club. So, yeah, I thought that was funny. Then Devin's character, little straight boy, gets caught playing football. And the way the students, like his little gay boy friends react to him, like the roles are reversed. I thought that was cute.
I think that's where the film, it has some subtext in there that it's not quite going for, because we learned that this little heterosexual boy has gay parents and he comes out to them as like
yes
and then how Jimmy Tatro's Troy is kind of at odds with everybody else, and why is that? Because Ben Platt's character kind of yells at him once like, "You don't belong here, this is for us." And it's like, well, really, what is that? How is that diminishing your own community by keeping it so locked tight?
The musical on the cruise ship that Rebecca-Diane's going to be performing in is called Cole Porter on the Waves.
Who is on this cruise?
Because it would have to be, because I've been on cruises with old homosexuals. I don't even imagine them wanting to watch that.
No,
I thought that was very funny.
They want to watch other things usually. So this would be the people that used to get down to Cole Porter and not realize he was gay.
So the end of the film is the musical Joan still, and I thought it was really well done. It kind of felt like one of those Drag Race musicals.
Yeah, it's as good as certainly as.
And the opening song is amazing. It's called "Women Can't Read." I think the writing is so strong because the lyrics are really funny. Mm-hmm. And then we move into a song called "Wall Street Noise," and that's when we learn that Joan worked on Wall Street before she decided to create the theater camp. But it's that song that Glenn, Noah Galvin's character, makes his debut as Joan. Mm-hmm. It was so good. Then we move into a song about Studio 54
and coke addiction,
and the kids, like, they have like a paper mache nose that they're pulling cocaine into. I thought that was really funny. And the opening of that musical is they have a live cam feed into Joan's hospital room. So we see Joan like in bed in a coma, or so we think it's Joan. But at the end of the musical, all of a sudden the person in that bed wakes up, and it's not Amy Sedaris. It's the person in bed next to her. So Troy messed it up. And then when Amy Sedaris suddenly wakes up, she's like, what's going on?
No, the first thing she says is, don't let Troy run the club.
Oh yeah, the first thing she says, don't let my son run the club. And it's like, well, too late now. But yeah, I laughed the entire time. Oh, we didn't explain who saved it. So another way Troy's trying to make money is he's renting out his living quarters at the camp on Airbnb. So he kind of has like a roommate, this guy who's just lingering in the background. That guy saw Joan still and decided to give the $10,000 or whatever to get the camp out of foreclosure. Yeah, I would really recommend this movie.
Again, I think there are some things packed in there, like Rebecca-Diane claims to be channeling the spirit of Joan, even though she's not dead, which it seems like everybody is not really believing she's able to do except for Troy.
That didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense because it allows her to realize that he's selling the camp, but then she doesn't even have time to respond to it with how everything's unfolding. So I don't even know why we needed that. And I don't know if they were trying to have kind of like a Cassavetes, kind of that supernatural element in the Eves with opening night going for it. I don't know. It just seems like not everything, or that could have been funny if it had been brought up more. I also think it's almost like they forget that this is a mockumentary.
Oh, that's right. So right away we're told that there's going to be a documentary crew or a crew documenting sort of this season at the camp. And then it's never revisited. And so I forgot until you reminded me a day later. And you're recording a bunch of theater kids who all want to be stars. I can't believe that at no point someone like from the crew said, hey, act natural.
Yeah, none of these children were...
None of them are hamming it up for the camera. So that, I feel like that was an odd thing. And also makes me think like, oh, like it's kind of like Christopher Guest style. Which, not all Christopher Guest movies are that funny to me either, but it's not at the level of like a For Your Consideration or
Best in Show.
Best in Show, but yeah, still very good.
No, but with a kind of a compromised community where you can mine the comedy of them putting on a stage play, like the Tavani Brothers' Caesar Must Die, where the prisoners are doing Shakespeare.
What would you give this movie?
But the lyrical content and everything.
Yeah.
Like the little children, just the frivolous stuff, even like Ronald McDonald, Adina Menzel, I'm a gay witch and this is my spell. Like,
yeah, the writing is very, very strong. I would definitely watch it again just so I can pick up on their little things.
I would, but at the same time, I think, because I've seen it twice now, and it's just, it falls a little short for me, but I would give it 3 out of 5.
I would give it 3.5 out of 5. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.